We spend a lot of energy worrying about the wrong nightmare. We fear the dystopia of chains and cameras and a boot on the neck, a world that controls us through fear and pain. But in 1932, Aldous Huxley imagined a far more seductive and, it turns out, far more accurate kind of dystopia. A world that controls people not through suffering, but by pleasure. Not by taking away what they want, but by giving them so much of it that they never want anything more. In Brave New World, nobody is oppressed in any way they can feel. Everybody is happy. And that, Huxley argues, is exactly the problem. Because the most effective cage ever built is the one you would never try to escape, since you are having too good a time inside it. Here is what feels strange about this book. We tend to read it alongside Orwell's 1984 and treat them as two versions of the same warning about totalitarian control. But Huxley and Orwell were afraid of opposite things, and the older the world gets, the more it looks like Huxley was right. Orwell feared a power that would ban pleasure and rule through pain. Huxley feared a power that would drown us in pleasure until we forgot to care about anything that mattered. Orwell feared the people who would take away our information. Huxley feared a world so flooded with distraction and entertainment that no one would need to take anything away because no one would be paying attention in the first place. In 2026, look around and ask yourself honestly which prophet got it right. Let me reframe the whole novel. The society Huxley imagines keeps its citizens content through a few simple tools: constant, frictionless entertainment, casual, consequence-free pleasure, and a drug called soma, which instantly erases any flicker of discomfort, boredom, sadness, or unease the moment it appears. The result is a population that never has to sit with a difficult feeling, never has to struggle, never has to confront the hard questions of meaning, mortality, or purpose, because any unpleasant thought can be dissolved immediately in another dose of comfort. They have traded depth for ease, and they have made the trade so completely that they no longer even remember there was anything to lose. They are not unhappy. They are something stranger and sadder. They are unbothered all the way down. The chilling genius of the book is that nobody in it is suffering, and that is precisely what makes it a horror story. The citizens are not rebelling because they have nothing to rebel against. Their every desire is met before it becomes painful, and so they have no reason to want freedom, no reason to seek meaning, no reason to grow, because growth requires discomfort, and discomfort has been engineered out of existence. Huxley understood something deeply unsettling about human beings. We will trade almost anything, including our depth, our freedom, and our capacity for meaning, for the promise of never having to feel bad. And a system that grasps this does not need prisons, it just needs to keep the pleasure flowing. Psychology gives us a precise lens for what Huxley feared. There is a well-documented phenomenon in which constant, easy stimulation gradually raises the threshold for satisfaction, so that ordinary life feels increasingly flat and only stronger and more frequent hits of novelty can register. The more frictionless pleasure you consume, the harder it becomes to find meaning in anything slow, effortful, or quiet, the very things that research consistently links to deep and lasting fulfillment. Huxley described a soma-soothed population decades before we built a world of infinite, on-demand, perfectly optimized distraction that fits in your pocket and is available every waking second. He was not predicting a drug, he was predicting a relationship with comfort itself. Now make this uncomfortably concrete. When you feel a moment of boredom, what do? When a difficult emotion surfaces, sadness, restlessness, loneliness, the quiet ache of an unexamined life, how long do you sit with it before you reach for something to make it go away? A screen, a feed, a video, a notification, a small dose of frictionless pleasure to dissolve the discomfort before it can fully form. Huxley's citizens reached for soma. We reach for the glowing rectangle. The mechanism is identical. Erase the unpleasant feeling instantly before it can become the kind of discomfort that might actually wake you up, push you to change, or force you to ask what your life is for. We are not forced to do this. We are choosing it, eagerly, all day long, exactly as Huxley feared we would. There is an idea in Uzbek culture that a life too sweet rots the teeth, that some bitterness is necessary for a person to stay whole and strong. It is a small folk wisdom, but it lands directly on Huxley's central nerve. A life with no struggle, no discomfort, no bitterness at all is not a healthy life. It is a numb one. The difficulty we are so desperate to engineer away is not only a burden, it is also the thing that makes us deep, that drives us to grow, that gives meaning its weight. Remove all of it, and you do not get paradise. You get a soft, smiling emptiness that has forgotten it is empty. But here is where the book becomes profound rather than merely clever, and it's the part most people rush past.
The one character who sees through it all, an outsider raised away from this engineered comfort, makes a demand that sounds insane to everyone around him. He claims the right to be unhappy. He insists on the right to struggle, to feel pain, to grow old, to be afraid, to want things he cannot easily have, to experience the full, difficult, unoptimized range of being human. To the contented citizens, this is madness. Why would anyone choose discomfort when pleasure is freely available? But Huxley is using this character to ask you the deepest question in the book. Is a life without struggle, without depth, without the freedom to suffer and therefore to grow, even a human life at all? Or is it just a very comfortable kind of sleep? This is what makes Brave New World a warning aimed directly at our moment rather than at some distant tyranny. The threat Huxley identified is not a villain who will oppress you. It is a comfort so total and so available that you will hand over your own depth, one easy dose at a time, and feel grateful while you do it. The cage has no bars because it does not need them. It is built out of the very things you reach for to feel better. And the only escape is the strange countercultural decision to value something more than your own comfort, to choose the harder, deeper, more meaningful path precisely when the easy, pleasant, numbing one is right there in your hand. I want to add a careful word because this idea can curdle into a kind of self-punishing contempt for any rest or enjoyment, and that is not the lesson. Huxley was not condemning pleasure, comfort, or joy. He was condemning the total replacement of meaning by distraction, the use of comfort as an anesthetic against ever having to feel or think or grow. Rest is human and good. Enjoyment is part of a full life. The warning is specifically about the reflex to dissolve every difficult feeling instantly, to never let any discomfort stay long enough to teach you something. If you notice that you reach for numbing the moment any hard feeling appears, that is not a reason for shame. It is an invitation to occasionally let a difficult moment breathe, and to discover that you can survive it, and that something real often waits on the other side. Read Brave New World again, not as a sci-fi fantasy about a strange future, but as the most accurate prophecy ever written about a civilization that would distract and soothe itself out of its humanity. It gives you language for the soft trap of frictionless comfort, for the way we reach for ease the instant difficulty appears, for the quiet emptiness that can hide underneath a life with every desire met and no desire deep. And it leaves you with the one demand that the whole engineered paradise cannot stand to hear: the right to be unhappy, the right to struggle, the right to a life with enough bitterness in it to stay real. Huxley's deepest warning was never that someone would take our freedom by force. It was that we would trade it away, gladly, for comfort, and never even notice it was gone. There is one more layer in Huxley's vision that deserves attention because it is the one that most directly indicts our moment. In Brave New World, the citizens are not only soothed by pleasure, they are also conditioned from before birth to want exactly what the system needs them to want, to desire their own servitude, to find the idea of solitude, deep thought, or difficult freedom genuinely distasteful. They do not have to be forced to stay shallow. They have been shaped to prefer shallowness, to recoil from depth as if it were unpleasant. This is the subtlest and most chilling part of the book, because it asks an almost unanswerable question. How would you even know if your own desires had been shaped for you? If you have been trained to crave constant stimulation, to find silence boring and reflection tedious and difficulty annoying, then the prison does not feel like a prison at all. It feels like your own taste, your own personality, your own free choice. Huxley's deepest warning is not just that comfort can trap us, it is that a sufficiently clever system does not need to overcome your will. It simply shapes what you want so that you walk into the cage on your own, certain you are doing exactly what you please. And the only defense against that is the unsettling, ongoing willingness to ask whether the things you reach for automatically are things you actually chose, or things you were taught to crave by a world that profits from your craving. Tell me in the comments, which dystopia do you think we actually got? The one ruled by fear or the one ruled by comfort? If you want more deep dives that turn the stories you think you know inside out, subscribe and check the description for further reading. One honest note before you go. This video uses AI-generated audio and visuals, and it offers reflection, not professional advice. If the urge to numb every hard feeling has been hard to sit with lately, that is worth talking through with someone you trust rather than facing alone. This was just one reader's thoughts, offered to make you think.